Welcome back. The Higher Education Minister Blade Nzimande says the amount of money owed by students to tertiary institutions is immense. It's now over 16 billion rand. In other words, student debt is now 16.5 billion. It's a big amount of money. Meanwhile, Nzimande says the National Student Financial Aid Scheme is dealing with applications for money for this year. FeeNix is an organisation that helps to fund students who are studying, helps to deal with their student debt. Cara-Jean Petersen is the CEO of FeeNix. She joins us now. Cara-Jean, good afternoon to you. So many different conversations around funding higher education. Is there a particular model you think we should be following at the moment? Many societies debate this endlessly.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that with the minister's press release recently, he did speak that they are busy exploring their comprehensive student funding model to explore how do they support various types of students in different situations and what would that look like. And I think what we've experienced over our years, we launched in 2017, and what we've been doing and exploring with students is there isn't a one-size-fits-all model. As much as we try to find one or standardize it, the fact is that students come with different needs, they come from different situations and financial requirements, but also in terms of wraparound services, and then matching them to communities that are willing to sponsor them. They come with their own needs and preferences. So it's really about exploring different partnerships to meet the various nuanced needs.
I would imagine that for many communities, maybe before the pandemic, communities had some resources to help people. A village would club together to help a particular student. I mean, I've heard, people have told me what it's like when someone in a village is the first to get a distinction in English or mathematics, how big that is for the whole village. But after the pandemic, are those resources tapped out? I would think communities would battle to try and help the best and brightest among them to succeed.
Stephen, it's very interesting because we assumed the same thing. So when FeeNix was launched, we started as a crowdfunding platform where it was really about how do we digitize communities' ability to fundraise for students and really put the solution in the students' hands. And then lockdown happened and COVID happened and we thought people's pockets were going to close up. But in fact, that was some of our best fundraising times because communities band together. I think it's the nature of everyone living in South Africa. We understand that it takes a village to raise a child. And so everyone was very intentional on coming together, and whether it was sponsoring a medicine student so they could be on the front line of the COVID response team, or whether it was sponsoring students that would be the first graduates in their community. But in terms of what we saw from a FeeNix perspective, the donations made increase during lockdown, and we have more and more small to medium enterprises and big corporate names that are coming on board and saying, we understand that there's 16.5 billion rand worth of student debt out there, and we want to be a part of the solution. We want to partner up and we want to invest in investment-worthy students.
I mean, it seems that NSFAS is having a big impact. I mean, certainly to listen to the official figures, and it certainly seems to be better managed than it was. It's making progress. We can't deny that. So where's the problem? Is the problem the missing middle? Is that where we see most of the problems?
I completely agree. I think it's encouraging to see that government and NSFAS is taking really positive steps towards cleaning up the administration of disbursement. I mean, ensuring that students that were funded by NSFAS get the funding on the other end of it. But the reality is that NSFAS doesn't cover all students that aren't able to access education. I'll take, for example, we have over 3,000 students that were fundraising for their studies last year. And every year we do a survey with our students to get important insights on what their needs are and why they chose to come to FeeNix as opposed to going to NSFAS, and 80% of our students didn't qualify for NSFAS. And that's for various reasons. It's because it took them longer to complete their degree and therefore they weren't eligible, because they were doing a postgrad, because they were doing their second degree. And so I think the misconception amongst community members is that NSFAS is making education free, but the reality is that it takes the entire private and public sector to be able to make education accessible, because not every student is eligible for NSFAS. So what happens to those? What happens to the missing middle students that aren't within the NSFAS eligibility bracket? They also need solutions and alternative funding solutions. And that's really where FeeNix comes in, and why we've been able to fundraise over 161 million rand over the last 5 years and supported over 3,300 students to afford their studies.
The thing about this, of course, is that it may sound like it's not a lot of people, 3,300 students, but what it does over time is that they help other people. They'll probably be supporting people through FeeNix. They will certainly, I imagine, trying to give back.
Absolutely. So we actually recently had one of our students whose name is Penyo. He graduated last year, and he's an interesting student and the perfect example of a student that wasn't eligible for NSFAS but was 100% investment worthy. He was struggling with his mental health, which he's very open and honest about, and so it took him 7 years to complete his undergrad degree. But he persevered, he had the grit, he graduated, he was able to fundraise for all of his debt, and so graduated debt-free thanks to FeeNix. And last year he was actually mentoring other students through our webinar series on how they can fundraise for their studies, and he's an ambassador this year. So very much paying it forward, very inspirational, and that peer-to-peer support which students often look for.
Do you think over time, I mean, more and more people are getting involved in this? The amount of money that students owe is so high, 16 billion rand. And I don't know if it's going to be paid back. I mean, you are literally investing in the future when you invest in students. So you've got to keep doing it. Do you think over time more and more people are going to get involved in organizations like yours because they understand the value, the power that it brings?
That's the hope. We can only ever hope for the best and prepare for the worst. I think it's important for us to continuously showcase why students are investment worthy, and we believe that there are communities that are backing them and supporting them. I think what it always comes down to is transparency and trustworthiness. Right? People work really hard for their money, and money is tight. We know what inflation is. We know living expenses has gone up. So when they donate or invest in a student, they want to know the money is going for what they say it goes to. And that's why FeeNix, our community, works so well, is because when a donation is made, you can immediately see it on their profile. There's reporting in place, and that's why our corporates come to us, because not only do they improve their BBBE scorecard, but they also know their skills development budget went towards students that have graduated and are completing their studies. So I think community members are 100% wanting to back our students. It's really just about the surety and the confidence that their money is going to where we said it would go. And that really comes down to reporting and transparency and that trustworthiness.
Cara-Jean Petersen, thank you, CEO of FeeNix. Really do appreciate the time.